Does content feel like something you have to get right rather than something that's 100% uniquely yours? You might perhaps sit down to create content, but then hear this, smattering of voices in your head that this isn't yours. The strategies, the formats, the lighting, the sound, and whatever it is, that you should be doing this advice that's hitting from every direction. It's really exhausting, right? And all that constant second guessing of your own instincts is not healthy. So, this episode is an invitation for you to put all that noise down for a while, not to ignore the experts entirely, but to learn how to hear yourself again and to understand why content that's aligned with you will always outperform content that simply ticks the boxes. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to this week's episode of the Content with Heart podcast. So lovely to have you here, and I hope you're well this week. Now, this week I attended the funeral of a really good friend, and I don't want to start this episode feeling heavy, but stick with me here. There's a positive spin to the story. It was a really sad occasion for me, and it's still so sad thinking about it right now, but such a beautiful reminder that things in life and, well, in death don't need to look a certain way. She was able to plan some of her service, and it was full of funny stories and color and laughter and lightness, just like her. So today I really wanted to bring this reminder to the podcast in a positive way that nothing ever should look or sound a certain way. Not you, not your business, not your content, not your life. You get to be 100% you. Because when we forget this, that's when the color doesn't shine quite as bright. And believe you me, you deserve to shine. So let's bring this back to content. When it comes to content, the should in creating it is one of probably the biggest energy drains, I think, on small business owners. It's really that exhaustion that happens when you spend months or even years sometimes creating from a place that isn't quite yours. It doesn't feel quite like you. Now, the content industry is extraordinarily noisy. There is so much advice out there. And most of it, I think, is built on generalizations. What works for one particular person, one particular business, one particular audience. And then they kind of package it or scale it into this one size fits all piece of advice that's just, I guess, plain hard work for you. When you create from that feeling or that place of I should be doing something a certain way, it means that your content often lacks one thing that no strategy or AI can manufacture, and that is the beautiful, unique you. We underestimate the true value of being ourselves and doing things in a way that feels easy for us. And I'm not telling you here to reject expertise out there. I'm not telling you to do that at all. We all need to learn new perspectives, new tools, new ideas, have accountability from people. You might need someone to help you through a hard period, but it's really learning to filter that through your own knowing and your own gut feeling. And that's hard, right? But when you can shift from what should I be doing, give me the exact steps, to what can I take away from this that actually works for me, that is the point where sustainable and easy content begins. Now, letting go of the shoulds is easy for me to say, but I know that it's hard to do. I'm not denying that at all. I know it's hard. But I think that the first step is simply naming what's happening to you right now. Most business owners don't realize how much of their content actually belongs to someone else, not to themselves. And the reason is that that expert noise that you're listening to isn't always, loud and in your face. Sometimes it's just like a quiet assumption, or when you regularly hear something, you believe it to be true. And that assumption that the way someone else does it is the way it should be done is really false. If they appear to be having success, though, which is a whole other discussion about what success really is and what we see on the outside, is never what is happening on the inside. I really think that social media has created this environment where expertise is performed constantly, and it's easy to absorb that as fact. and as instruction and as a way of doing things, when in reality it's just one person's limited view of how they do things and what has worked for them. And this advice isn't always wrong, far from it really. It's often just not yours, not the way that you could be doing things, not the way that is the easiest way for you to do things. But the minute it becomes yours, then that is when the content becomes lighter and easier, because there is a difference between learning from someone and outsourcing your judgment and your intuition to them. When you can start to notice those voices that you're hearing, you can create a little bit of a distance between you and them. And that distance is where your own voice lives. Now, once you can see the noise for what it is, that borrowed advice that was never really made specifically for you, the next question then becomes, what does it actually look like to trust yourself instead? And this is another biggie to tackle. And trusting yourself is not something that we do easily. But giving yourself permission to really do the things your way, I want you to realize that that's not a feel-good concept. It's actually one of the most strategic decisions you can actually make. When we give ourselves permission, it's not about doing less or lowering the bar or giving up. It's really about redirecting your energy towards something that genuinely works for you. Because your best content at the end of the day will always come from a place of authenticity, not checking the boxes within someone else's framework. You see what I'm getting at here? But permission is hard, right? It also means letting go of formats, of frequencies, of platforms, even when the industry says that they're essential for success. So how many times have you heard that daily Instagram reels are the thing to expand your audience, or you have to create a podcast for your thought leadership to be heard because that's what a particular person has done? Letting go of those things can create FOMO within us, but letting go of that thing that we were led to believe our success is hooked into is really, really hard. But once you do, this is where I think that the confidence begins to rebuild and you do start trusting yourself, not from content that ticks the boxes, but from the evidence of what happens when you actually trust yourself. Giving yourself permission is the start of it, but then alignment is what you find when you start doing the doing. And it's a lot more practical than it might sound. I know that alignment gets spoken about a lot in this space, and it can feel quite, I guess, like vague. You know, what does it actually mean to be aligned? What does aligned content look like? Well, here's what I think that aligned content creation actually looks like. It's that feeling of ease in the creating. And that's not saying that it's effortless, but it just doesn't cost you something to begin. It's easy to start and it's easy to keep going. And if you think of like a Venn diagram, I think that alignment lives in the intersection of 3 different circles. So what you genuinely know and care about, how you naturally communicate, and what your ideal client actually needs. It comes from the conversations, the observations, the stories, those real moments in your life and the lives of your ideal client. It doesn't come from templates or frameworks or even AI. And when you create from that feeling of ease, of knowing that you're in the right space, then it has the flow-on effects of consistency being easier because you're not performing, right? You're not trying to push something out into the world. You're just showing up. You're just being you. Now, the more you create from that place of alignment, I think the more evidence you start to gather that your way actually works and that you don't have to do it someone else's way. And it's in that gathering of the evidence, that's when your confidence with your content comes from, right? Confidence doesn't come from watching what others do and trying to match it. It comes from building a body of evidence that your way works. So you need to give it a shot. Comparison is probably one of the most common ways that the shoulds creep into your content. Seeing someone else's results or perceived results and then deciding that your results aren't good enough and the only way to achieve success is to do it the same way as them. And I think, though, that real content confidence is built slowly, right? It doesn't happen overnight, despite what you see. It comes from, noticing what resonates with your ideal clients. It comes from enjoying what you're actually creating. And it's really what keeps bringing the right people back to you, not all the people, just the right people. And we got to go back to this idea and this thought that, the only goal of content is performance. I think that the goal of content, and this should be spread across the whole world, the idea of content is to create content that connects with people. And connection is something you can feel. You can truly feel this, even if it's in small ways. And if you want to know more about creating content that connects, go back to episode 209. The episode is why your content feels harder than it should. Confidence simply comes from doing something over and over again over time. So I really encourage you to stop listening to those shoulds, even just for a short period of time, and see what it feels like to actually create content that is truly yours. And that confidence can shine when you have that right space to practice it and test it and to talk about it, really. Knowing and doing are two very, very different things. How many times have you bought a course or watched a masterclass but not actually followed through on the suggestions or the doing? Having a space to practice what you're doing, refine it, talk about it, and be supported is something else really entirely. And creating content that is yours happens in the small, consistent choices that you make over time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a while. And what helps, I think, is having a community, a rhythm that holds you as you do the work. And this is exactly what we do inside my membership. The Content Effect is exactly why I built it. It's not to give you more things to do or more strategies or more tools, but help you come back to your own self. It's really a place where you can learn to create with intention, with support, and definitely without any noise. So if that sounds like the kind of space that you've been looking for, then come and join us inside. The link is down in the show notes. Okay, so we've come to this beautiful moment in the episode where I love to give you some questions to actually think about, to ponder, to answer in your own time, and to really embody what you have learnt today or think deeper about what you have learnt today. So the first question is, where in your content are you following someone else's rules without questioning whether they fit you? What would you create if you trusted that your natural way of communicating was enough? And what's the one should that you've been carrying that you are ready to put down? The content shoulds have been so loud for a lot of people for a long time. But remember this, they were never really yours to carry in the first place. It's okay to put them down. What this episode has really been about it, at its heart, is the important work of coming back to yourself as creator, recognizing where the expert noise has overridden your own instincts and intuition, and really giving yourself permission to do things your own way and understanding that the alignment piece isn't just a feeling, it's a practice that builds confidence and ease over time. So I really want to encourage you today to think about this and step into that conversation of taking back your content, because your content gets to be yours. And when it is, everything, the creating, the connecting, the showing up becomes so much lighter and easier. With heart, always.